Okay, so no, I'm not in my bathtub. First things first. We're all on the same page. For those of you who are just listening right now, I understand that this is a confusing statement. For those of you watching and expecting a bathtub, I apologize. There's multiple reasons why there's no bathtub this year, but you're not getting nothing, okay? I did dress up in honor of this year. I did buy a wedding dress off a really cheap site on the internet. Alayna popping in from the future here, just to let you know that this video is sponsored by Surfshark, but more on that in a bit. And it's not half bad. I would wear this. I'm not, because I already have my dress. But I would wear this. So no, I'm not in my bathtub, but I'm wearing a wedding dress, okay? Will you accept this from me as a compromise? For those of you who are just listening and you're like, what is going on? Basically, every year, on my YouTube channel for I don't even know how many years now, I have done an annual question and answer video fully clothed in my bathtub. And the outfits over the years have gotten progressively more ridiculous. This year, there's no bathtub, but I did want to still give you a fun outfit. And we're still doing the Q&A. I just thought this might be a neat opportunity to bring together the Sleeping Around podcast audience and my regular YouTube content audience. At least the people who aren't already part of both of those audiences. It's a new year. I thought it might be a good time to reintroduce myself to everybody. I asked you on my Instagram, at Miss Fender with 2 R's. Sleeping Around also has an Instagram, at Sleeping Around Pod. That one's just harder to find because I think Instagram has flagged it as like sex content and therefore we're blacklisted, but it's there. And I asked all of you if you had any questions and I thought we'd answer them. Are you going to give us an update on your education adventure? Yes. So that's part of why I've nixed the bathtub, because I wanted to do this episode for both Sleeping Around podcast and as my annual Q&A. I can't get my podcast recording equipment into the bathroom. And this is further trying to merge my education world with the online world. They're two roles that expect very different things from me. And it's strange because I feel like I'm me in both worlds. For anybody who's just tuning in or is like, what are you talking about? I'm in a master's program currently for counseling psychology. So I'm studying to be a psychotherapist, and that world, at least in grad school, is very anti-social media. The general perspective seems to be that you shouldn't have a social media at all, basically, and if you do, it needs to be like strictly professional. And that's not really my situation. And the studying that I'm doing, it feels aligned with the way that I see the world and the types of relationships I want to form and the conversations I like to have, etc., etc., etc. As is the same with Sleeping Around, right? Getting to talk to my heroes, honestly, and learn from them and share that information with all of you. And then there's the entertainer side, which is so very different from your traditional counselor. So anyway, I have one more semester left of classes, so it's kind of like one final push in terms of coursework. I'm also currently seeing clients as a part of our clinic, and then starting in April, I start my practicum, which is where I'm like placed in a clinic in community for like 6 months. And then amidst all of that, I'm working on my thesis. You know, it's a lot of things, but I'm almost there. And clinic, like actually working with people, is easily my favorite part of the program so far, which feels really good because that tells me that I'm moving in the right direction. So that's the update. As of now, one more semester, then practicum, all of that including my thesis, and I'm done. I still have like 9 months, a 9-month process. There's a lot going on, but it's good. It's exciting. Before we get to the rest of the questions, I want to take a second to thank the sponsor of this week's content, Surfshark. I also want to say, don't mind the background. Ignore it, please. You're not supposed to see this yet. For any of you who aren't familiar, Surfshark is a VPN, a virtual private network. This is a service that not only keeps your online identity safe by encrypting all of the data that's shared between your devices and the internet, but it also swaps the real location of your device with a new one by like changing your IP address, allowing you to virtually travel anywhere around the globe. This is handy for multiple reasons, but the main one that I use Surfshark for is accessing geo-restricted TV and streaming services, content that's only available in specific locations around the world. For example, I live in Canada, so I cannot access the Australian seasons of Love Island because they're only available in Australia, or the German lesbian reality show Princess Charming. It's only available in Germany. But with Surfshark, I can change my IP address so that the internet thinks that I'm in Australia or in Germany, and I can now access these shows. This is a wild life hack. Before Surfshark, I didn't know this was possible, and now that I have access to it, I will never go back. Not only that, but Surfshark uses an encryption while on public Wi-Fi to protect my personal information, and Surfshark's Clean Web feature blocks ads, malware, phishing attempts, and trackers, which allows you to surf the web safely. And of course, I have a deal for you all. If you go to surfshark.com/Alayna, you can get an extra 4 months of Surfshark when you sign up. It's also linked in my description. 4 months is a long time. I recommend you check it out. What's the biggest goal you achieved this year? Also, when can we meet the lady? To answer part 2 of your question, I don't know when or if you will meet the lady. She's just not a social media person, and that's okay. But what's the biggest goal I achieved this year? I would say starting the podcast, starting Sleeping Around, was a huge accomplishment. It was years in the making. It was something I'd wanted to do for so long, and had been so afraid of starting something on my own, like starting something that was just mine. So those of you listening right now, those of you who have followed the show, anybody who's left a review or a rating or who has subscribed or anything, anybody who I've ran into in the streets and says, hey, I love the new show, thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I was so scared. Oh my word, I was so nervous. And I would say it's been better than I expected it to be. Yeah, I would say that is my biggest goal that I achieved this year. It was a pretty big one. What grade do you climb? For anybody listening who doesn't know me beyond Sleeping Around, I am an avid climber, pretty much entirely indoors for the past couple of years, just because things have been hectic. So I mostly do gym climbing, bouldering specifically. If you want more of that, you can check it out on my Instagram. I post a lot of climbing videos. The highest indoor grade I've ever climbed is a V6. I could absolutely not touch anything close to V6 outside. It might have been a V7 was like the hardest one I ever did. V7. It was a V7. I would say I can flash most V1 to V3. V4 to V6 is kind of my working zone. What is the topic of your thesis? Will you be able to share the findings with us in the future? Yeah, basically we've decided to look at mindfulness, self-compassion, and sexual shame in queer women. Specifically, I want to look at whether or not self-compassion, warmth toward yourself, treating yourself with fairness and forgiveness, if that piece turns up or turns down the volume on the impact of mindfulness on sexual shame. I came to this question because when I think about mindfulness, it's kind of tossed around like a cure-all kind of thing. It's like, oh, just be mindful, just take a few deep breaths. And while I think it's valuable, just paying attention to the thing that you feel shame about, I wonder if that inherently lowers the level of shame, or if in some cases that might make it worse. And so my theory is that those who are mindful and self-compassionate would experience lower levels of shame, whereas those who are mindful but are not self-compassionate may experience higher levels of shame, specifically in queer women. Is there a Discord? So there's no specific Sleeping Around Discord, but there is a private Discord through my Patreon that you get access to even for $3 a month at the lowest tier. But for $5 a month, you get access to bonus content. For $10 a month, you get access to all of the extended cut Sleeping Around episodes, plus the Discord, plus. That's really the sweet spot tier, in my opinion, is the $10 tier. And then the higher tiers, you get bonus stuff. You get a free pin. We do monthly hangouts. There's all sorts of stuff. But if you're interested specifically in a Discord, I would check out Patreon. It's linked in the description. How much of the conversations are planned? 0, basically. I prep for each episode, researching the guest, reading up on their work, and then coming up with questions or topics that I'd like to specifically speak to this person about. I ask you guys for questions for the Patreon extended cuts, and then we just start with the guest. None of that is planned. It's just a conversation, however it evolves. Sometimes we end up on a track that I did not even expect. Most of the time we don't get through all of the questions that I would like to ask them. It's pretty organic. How do you find pod school life balance? It's a bit much, I'm not gonna lie, but it's temporary. I know that the next few months are gonna be tough, but I've pre-recorded a lot of sleeping around episodes, so I've like prepped myself for that, and I'm trying to be okay with there being a lack of balance in the sense that I'm trying to be less rigid just about all of the things that I have to do, right? So I'm trying to be less rigid about climbing, I'm trying to be less rigid about my perfectionism stuff. You know, I'm trying to just let some of that go, do what I can when I can, and be okay with that. I'm putting in the time right now for this degree. It's a commitment, it's tough, but I knew that going in, and it has an end date. So in the moments when I feel really unbalanced, that's what I remind myself of. Do you ever get nervous meeting and interviewing people? Yes, I get nervous every time. There are a few guests that I've gotten especially nervous for. One you will have just seen last week, Emily Nagoski, hello. And then there's one coming up. I don't even want to tell you who it is. It's like, I can't even believe that I got her on the show. I'll say her name starts with K and her last name starts with O, but there's 2 capital letters in it. That's the clue I'll give you. I was so nervous for that one. I thought I was gonna throw up. Do you have a number 1 dream guest you hope to get on the pod? Esther Perel would be a big one. Glennon Doyle. Yeah, I would say those are the 2 that come to mind immediately. So we're putting it out there. We're putting it into the universe. A lot of questions about the wedding. We've done a lot of wedding planning. Like all the big pieces are done. We've just kind of got some decor stuff left to figure out. We're doing it outside. We're gonna be on this little beach with like mountains in the background where she proposed to me. We're gonna get married there. We're having this beautiful meal afterward with all of the guests, and then we're gonna have like a dance party, which is kind of funny because so we hired a DJ and we had like a meeting with this DJ, like, you know, to decide if we were gonna be a good match, and he's a viewer. Like he knew my YouTube channel and listens to Sleeping Around and knows Chosen Family, and it was just this kind of serendipitous moment. It was really cute. So shout out David. We're gonna incorporate ferns because I love ferns and plants. It's gonna be really beautiful and really, we want everybody to have a nice time. 2023 brought study. 2024 brought a new podcast. Will 2025 bring more rest? It's a good question. Man, I want to say yes, but like, okay, let's get real. Let's have an honesty hour for a second, which I like to do in these. For like 3 years of my life, I've been saying more rest is around the corner. I'm going to slow down soon. Just have to do this one more thing. And I'm seeing my own pattern that it doesn't actually happen. So I hesitate to say, yeah, I just have one more semester of school and then things are going to slow down because I'm seeing my pattern. Now that I've seen the pattern, I have to figure out how to make a change. Nothing's going to change if I don't change it. The timeline pieces that's already been set in stone are that my classes will end in April. So that's going to be check. Practicum is going to be intense. It's like a full-time gig for almost 6 months. And also the Sleeping Around season is going to go until the end of June. And then that's when we're ending season 1. And my practicum goes until September. So my plan is to have the Sleeping Around episodes recorded by the time I start practicum so that I don't need to record new episodes. And when the season ends, I'm just going to take a breath. I'm going to leave it for a bit, finish my practicum, and then start on season 2. So there's gonna be a gap with Sleeping Around. The piece that I need to figure out is my YouTube stuff, because it is my main source of income. I need to consider that financially, but I'll need to see where it can fit in with practicum, my thesis, and also Chosen Family. So realistically, I don't see there being more rest until my practicum ends in September. Come September, I will really be looking at my life and my schedule and like figuring out where things go next. Ooh, what is your go-to coffee? Black. I will do oat milk sometimes if I feel like it. Oat milk latte. If it's like a medium or a light roast, black, definitely. Americano, strong, I want to taste it. If it's a dark roast, that's when I'll often get oat milk because the coffee itself isn't my favorite. What a timely question. Do you plan to move out of your current area? Yes. Oops, we are moving. Like now. That's also part of the reason that I'm not filming in the bathtub because there's lots going on over in that part of the apartment. The next chunk of videos you'll see will still be here because I'm continuing to record until we move. But yes, we are moving. We're staying in Vancouver, but we're moving for the last time for real this time. Have you got any 2025 climbing goals? Where I'm at with climbing right now is that I miss it. Just with the holidays, with school, with work, with everything, I have not been climbing at the level that I used to or at the level that I would like to. But that's one of the things I'm trying to just like take a breath and let it be. This is not the season. I'm focusing on other things and that's okay. My plan is to climb when I can, but like let it be fun and let it be light and let it be something that I do because I enjoy. And 2025 goal is to just make time for it. Climbing is not a small time commitment, and so making time for it at all is a win. And then in terms of things I'm looking forward to when this master's program is over and I have some more room in my life and I can get back to kind of that rigor that I could climb at before I started this degree. Yeah, so my goal is maintenance. I think I said the same thing last year and it remains true. Getting strong and moving my body in a bunch of different ways. I still want to stretch more. Imagine I make that my 2025 resolution. I lasted a few months last year. Maybe I should try that again. I think I've talked for long enough. Again, I want to say thank you to everybody who's listening, to everybody who's watching this. You have made 2024 an incredible year. The reception of the podcast of Sleeping Around has been really neat and it's meant a lot because this is something that I've put my heart and soul into. So I hope that you're enjoying yourself as much as I am. If you haven't checked out the Patreon, patreon.com/AlaynaJoy. It's linked in the description. It's linked in the show notes. That's where you get extended cuts of all the Sleeping Around episodes as well as bonus content, and you can get your name in the credits, and there's the private Discord. There's all sorts of stuff over there. I try to make it worthwhile because that's how I do this. That's how I make the show. That's how I make my content here on YouTube. That's what makes it all possible. So thank you to my current patrons, my VIP patrons especially, my vitally important producers. You make my world go round. And another thank you to Surfshark for partnering with me on this video. Remember, you can go to surfshark.com/Alayna to get 4 extra months of Surfshark when you sign up. I hope that all of you had a wonderful 2024. If you have goals or things that you're excited for in 2025, let me know in the comments. I would love to get inspired by you and read about what you guys are up to. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. And also, I feel like my own mental health has been better. Bugs. I'm trying to teach her to stop screaming by ignoring her, and it's very hard. Hearing her cry and like not doing anything about it, it just tugs at my heart. It's like she's scratching my heart directly.